It's summer in Orlando, and the theme park world is all focused on Epic Universe. For good reason, it's the first brand new theme park in Orlando in over 25 years. It has brand new rides, new hotels, but the more I've been thinking about it, this might sneakily be the best summer ever to visit Disney World. And it's not why you might think. Hi, I'm James from Guide to WDW, and happy summer, which means that it's time for my ultimate summer guide to Disney World, where, like a toddler at Animal Kingdom's Boneyard, I'm going to dig into everything going on. What's new this summer, what's closing, the best deals, and 4 reasons why this might be the best summer ever at Disney World, and 1 big reason you might want to skip it. And I'm going to do the whole thing Guide 2 style, with plenty of deep analysis that you've come to love, or in the case of my wife, tolerate. Just kidding, she loves when I bring up seasonal wait time trends at the dinner table. She just has a funny way of showing it. Disney recently invited me to a preview of many of their new summer offerings and more, and I came away with a lot of thoughts and plenty of tips for you about what to prioritize this summer. So let's dive in with the first reason why this summer is awesome at Disney World: no new rides. Now, I will admit that is a weird thing to get excited about. It's definitely not leading Disney's marketing, but hear me out why this is great for guests. This is the first summer in recent memory where there's no new big ride. Now, I love a new ride as much as the next person, probably more, but there's actually something great about going to Disney World where there's not the one big shiny new thing that has everyone's attention. Guardians, Tron, and Tiana are all still great rides, and still have a bit of that new ride smell lingering. But now, they're all much easier to get on than when they first debuted. No new rides means that there's no virtual queue at all at Disney World, so there's less of that stressful pressure to do the big new thing. This summer brings a lot of new small to medium-sized additions and upgrades spread across the parks that will still fill a vacation with lots of new fun things to do. But there's no one giant addition that acts like a magnet everyone is drawn to that causes a big bump in crowds, except for possibly one thing that I'll get to later. So what is new at Disney World this summer? Let's start small and work our way up, and I think this first edition illustrates my point perfectly. The Cool Kids Summer Entertainment, which runs through September 1st, specifically the air-conditioned dance parties. During my media preview, this was unironically the thing that I was most excited about because I have 2 small kids, and these are just amazing for families. Let's start at Hollywood Studios, where the Disney Junior Play and Dance Show has been converted to the Get Animated Dance Party. I am here at the club. This runs all day. When I went, it ran from 9 to 5, but check the schedule when you go. Honestly, I hope that Disney makes this change permanent, because this is what I always wanted the Disney Junior show to be. There's no set schedule, which is clutch with little kids. You can just show up whenever works for you. Plus, it's an enclosed space where you can let your kids run around, dance, burn off some energy, and get way more time with a ton of characters than any meet or greet or character meal. All in glorious air conditioning. The animation courtyard is the hub for Cool Kids Summer at Hollywood Studios. There's the character meet and greets that they've always had here, but they've added a bunch of entertainment, like dance games with Donald and Goofy. And speaking of Goofy, let's hop over to EPCOT, where Communicore Hall has been transformed into Goofcore Hall. And not only has Disney added an air-conditioned dance party here, but they introduced a new word into the lexicon that fully captures my vibe. Am I hardcore? No way. But Goofcore? Gosh, that's me to a T. So Goofcore is another DJ dance party that just runs throughout the day, but periodically Goofy will come out with a very high-energy host and play games with the kids.
So can you help us power it up by playing some games today? Alright!
These games reminded me a lot of Field Day at School or Camp. Goofy Says, Loopy Limbo, Parachutes and Pipsqueaks. Very fun for the kids and great for parents who want to get a breather in the AC. Did I mention there's AC? There's AC. Now, the last of the air-conditioned dance parties is over at Magic Kingdom. All the way in the back of Storybook Circus, there's the Big Top Bash, with a DJ, dancers, and sometimes Pluto will come out to dance with the kids. Although I feel for the cast member in the Pluto costume, because the Big Top is open air. They do a commendable job cooling it down. They pump in cool air and have these giant fans. So it's definitely comfortable here on a hot day, just not quite as much of a huge, oh my gosh, let me sit here for hours relief as the other air-conditioned options. But this spot had my favorite entertainment. There's a juggling duo, and I was genuinely surprised by how delighted I was with this show. The performers are really talented, but I think part of it is that the big top is actually a fairly small space, so you get to see this really impressive circus act really close up. There were also stilt walkers by the entrance of Storybook Circus, and the new entertainment made this whole area feel much more like a circus. It's amazing how adding some live performers can help an area come alive thematically. Cool Kid Summer also adds a lot of other entertainment across all of Disney World, like a dance party with Stitch in Tomorrowland, a limited-time Wilderness Explorer badge at Animal Kingdom, kid-exclusive pin trading boards with awesome pin Plinko, some extra characters that will roam around the parks in the morning, and there are scheduled character visits at Pop Century, Art of Animation, Caribbean Beach, and Wilderness Lodge resorts. Cool Kid Summer is a lot of temporary entertainment, but I hope Disney keeps a lot of this around. A lot of the offerings reminded me of when I was a little kid, and they had a Toy Story parade at MGM Studios. Before the parade, they had Green Army Men entertainers come out and play games with the kids in the crowd. I got to do this toy horse race thing and got a bucket of Army Men toys as a prize for participating. It was such a small thing, but it made my day feel so special, and over 30 years later, I still remember it and how it felt. These little things like character interactions or a spontaneous show you weren't expecting can make a huge difference to how magical a Disney vacation feels for a little kid. And for the sweaty, tired parents out there, it can be a game changer. To have something that will occupy your kids that doesn't require lightning lane reservations or even waiting in line is really appreciated. And you know what else is really appreciated? You, for watching this video. If you found it helpful so far, I'd also appreciate it if you gave it a like and get subscribed to Guide to WDW for more Disney World deep dives. Next up, Disney has 2 new stage shows at Hollywood Studios: Little Mermaid, a musical adventure, and Villains Unfairly Ever After. Let's start with Little Mermaid, which replaces Voyage of the Little Mermaid, which ran from 1992 until 2020. Those are big fins to fill. Little Mermaid, a musical adventure, just opened in late May and is a brand new staging of the show, featuring new musical arrangements, updated puppets, and new visuals. It has a lot of the DNA of Voyage, but it feels vibrant and fresh with a new coat of digital paint. The real innovation here is the blend of puppets, performers, and projections. The show fires on all cylinders when using all 3 together, which it does a lot. There are animated projections on the backdrop, the scrim in front of the stage, and everywhere in between. That gives the show a great sense of dimensionality. The puppets are great, especially the updated Ursula. And when I saw it, the performer playing Ariel was amazing. I was honestly surprised by how much I enjoyed the show. And as a theater nerd, I think the new staging is really well done. Because of that dimensionality, it plays much better in person than any video that I could show you. This new version of the show is a crowd pleaser for all ages, and definitely worth checking out this summer and beyond. Also, like everything else I've been recommending, there's really good air conditioning. The next show is Villains Unfairly Ever After, which is located next to Rock 'n' Roller Coaster where the Lightning McQueen show was. But the theater has been completely upgraded with some very comfy chairs. The show is hosted by the Magic Mirror, and features actors playing Cruella de Vil, Captain Hook, and Maleficent, each making their case that they are the most misunderstood of all.
Is it my fault I have a flair for fashion?
And the ending changes based on who the audience cheers the most for. There are also cameos by pretty much every other Disney villain possible, either played by actors on screens or in animated form. This show is a lot of fun. There's a great earworm of a theme song. And it's bright. Literally, there are so many screens. But these are some of the best screens I've ever seen. Crystal clear, and the show uses them in some pretty inventive ways. I got a question about if the show is too scary for small kids. It did not strike me as scary at all. It's colorful, it's silly, there are songs. Maybe Maleficent could scare some small kids, but Cruella and Hook are so over-the-top campy. I feel like the show is kid-friendly, but your mileage may vary. And I also just have to shout out the performers who do an amazing job and really make this show a fun time.
Me likes him better than me. Do you?
Now, I do have some nits to pick. I wish there were a couple of more human performers, so maybe some more modern villains could have a bigger role. And the story of the show is kind of thin. It's hard to pick up on exactly what's happening the first time you see it. Not that that really matters, it's kind of just an excuse to have a good time with some bad characters. So I like villains, but I wasn't quite as blown away by it like I was with Little Mermaid. But still, it's a fun time, it's a short show, and there's air conditioning. The final edition that's available now is Geo 82, the 21+ only lounge located at the back of Spaceship Earth. As a dad who loves Spaceship Earth and Disney bars, I was bummed to find out that this was Disney World's first adults-only bar. Getting to experience this would also mean having to figure out childcare, which isn't always a possibility while I'm on vacation. But I get it. Disney is going for an upscale vibe here, with elevated cocktails and elevated prices. So you don't really want to drop $28 on a brown butter old-fashioned while also having to listen to my kids watch Blippi on an iPad. There are a lot of adults who travel to Disney without kids, so it's great that Disney now has a space catered to adults, and they probably should do more. If us parents can get the air-conditioned dance parties, the child-free and carefree adults can have the Spaceship Earth Lounge. Not that I'm jealous. Okay, I'm a little jealous. And by the way, who do I need to talk to / bribe to get a replica of that Geodesic G logo? I'm kind of obsessed with it. So those are the new editions already open, but there are still 2 more exciting editions coming later this summer. And now we're racing into bigger deal territory with the reimagined test track, which reopens on July 22nd with a new score and updated scenes that celebrate both the latest in-car tech and the joys of taking a road trip. Basically, it's fun to be free. And this new version of the ride will include nods to this building's past, including World of Motion. Imagineering shared a preview of a couple of scenes, one featuring dense foliage, and another one that uses 29,000 nodes of light and dynamic projections to illustrate how a car sees the world through LiDAR technology. That is some classic EPCOT edutainment, and I am so here for it. And I am really hopeful that this new version of Test Track combines the tactile feel of the first version and the impressive digital visuals of the second version, while adding in some of the heart of World of Motion. So that's July 22nd, but the biggest addition this summer at Disney World happens 2 days earlier, and it isn't a ride. It's a parade. A nighttime parade to be exact. Disney's Starlight at Magic Kingdom, which debuts on July 20th, and I'm predicting that this will be a big deal. Magic Kingdom hasn't had a completely new nighttime parade since SpectroMagic debuted in 1991. Since then, SpectroMagic and Main Street Electrical Parade alternated as the nighttime parade at Magic Kingdom until 2016. And since then, there's been nothing. So we haven't had a nighttime parade at Disney World in almost 10 years. And as someone who has seen the reaction of Paint the Night at Disneyland firsthand, nighttime parades are really popular. And I'm really hopeful that Starlight will be on the level of Paint the Night in terms of quality. Starlight will have a brand new score that Disney says will feature some Disney Parks favorites woven throughout. I'm hoping for nods to both the Main Street Electrical Parade and SpectroMagic scores. The parade will feature 9 floats based on classic Disney films like Pinocchio and Peter Pan, as well as modern favorites like Encanto, Coco, and Moana. There will also be a new version of the Royal Couples float, and the grand finale float is the Starlight Train, featuring Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Daisy, Goofy, and Pluto, as well as a couple of callbacks to the Main Street Electrical Parade, with Casey Jr. and the Snow White and Dopey minecart. While I was editing this video, Disney World just revealed the showtimes for Starlight. It will run twice each night, at 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. And the parade route will now start at Main Street and work its way toward Frontierland. So based on previous nighttime parade experience, the pro tip is that the first parade is always more crowded. So if you want to avoid the crowds, stick around until the second parade. Also, Main Street will be packed, but the parade route also goes through Frontierland, which is typically much less crowded for the parade. So I think Starlight will be the biggest draw this summer, and Disney is anticipating that too. They've already announced that starting July 20th, the annual pass holder no reservations after 2 p.m. rule won't apply to Magic Kingdom for a limited time during the debut window for the parade. But Scott Gustin has confirmed that park hopping rules will remain the same, so if you go to another park that you have a reservation for first, you can then park hop into Magic Kingdom. Finally, later in the summer, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party returns, taking place on select nights starting August 15th. And while that's technically summer, that has more of a fall feel to it. Let me know if you want me to come out with an updated guide for the party later this year. So as you can see, there's a ton of new things debuting this summer, but we need to shift gears a moment and acknowledge the attractions that are gone or going away for this summer's In Muppetorium section. Cue the overly sappy music and black and white filter. It's Tough to Be a Bug, which closed earlier this year and will be replaced by a Zootopia 3D show coming later in 2025. Muppet Courtyard is now closed forever.
Forever?
Along with it, Mama Melrose, Pizza Rizzo, and the GOAT, Muppet Vision 3D. Construction walls are already up for the Monsters Inc. land coming to Hollywood Studios. The Rivers of America, Tom Sawyer Island, and Liberty Bell Riverboat will have their last day in the sun on July 6th, before being replaced by the Cars-themed Piston Peak National Park, also going away on July 6th. The full Grand Circle Tour for the Walt Disney World Railroad. After a lengthy closure during Tron's construction, the full railroad has only been back for a couple of years. But starting July 7th, it will just shuttle back and forth between Main Street and Storybook Circus while Frontierland is under construction. Dinoland USA. Half of it is already extinct, to make way for the new Tropical America's Land opening in 2027. And the Boneyard Play Area will have its last day of operation on September 1st. But there is good news for families, because Disney confirmed that the new land will feature a theme play area to replace this. The dinosaur ride will still be available through the end of 2025. And finally, Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin will close in August, but cut the music and bring the color back because Buzz is only closing for a few months. They're upgrading the targets and gameplay, and it will reopen next year better than ever. Let's shake off the sadness of saying goodbye and instead say aloha, which means both hello and goodbye, but you know what I mean. Reason number 2 that this is the best summer ever at Disney World is that there's a newish addition that has the greatest summer vibes throughout the entire resort. The Island Tower at the Polynesian Village Resort. Disney very kindly invited me to take a tour of the Island Tower and check out the restaurant here. And I was legitimately blown away by the design, the details, and the smell. It reminded me a lot of modern resorts I've visited in Hawaii, especially on Oahu. It just has that more relaxed, laid-back vibe that is perfect for summer. Plus, there are several terrace gardens that offer great views of the Seven Seas Lagoon and the fireworks. It's a DVC resort, so there are rooms that feature great things for families or larger groups, like a kitchen, additional Murphy beds, things like that. So if you're a DVC member, this could be a very good use of your points if you want that perfect Polynesian summer vibe right in Orlando. But you don't have to be a DVC member to stay here. Disney will rent you a room, but it's expensive. If you're interested in staying here, I would book through a DVC rental site. I personally recommend David's DVC, which lets you rent points that DVC members aren't able to use. The basic result is that you can get these rooms at a big discount versus the rack rate that Disney offers, and this works at all of Disney's deluxe villas. I'll include a link below. But honestly, I wouldn't be highlighting the Island Tower here if it were just about staying at the resort, because you don't have to be staying here to get a major dose of those great summer vibes. The move here is to get lunch or dinner at Wailulu Bar and Grill. Get on the walk-up waitlist in the app, and while you wait for your table, go check out the lobby and walk around the pathways. I've now eaten here multiple times. What you might not know is that I don't live in Orlando. When I go to the parks, my time is pretty limited, and as a content creator, it makes the most sense to do as many different things as possible. So my biggest endorsement of a dining location is to say I came back again and again just on one trip, which I did here. So the restaurant is beautiful. Both inside and outside, you get the summer vibes, and everything I ordered across those visits was delicious. I especially loved the musubi and the ribs. The burger and mac salad was also excellent. I also got this pina colada mocktail, which was just great on a park day. You get a nice refreshing mixed drink, but it's zero proof, so you're not dragging the rest of the day. This spot is an awesome place to watch the nightly fireworks, and they do pump in the music. So Island Tower, and especially Wailulu, great year-round, but I think especially great in the summer. Alright, time to talk about the elephant in the room. Reason number 3 that this is a great summer at Disney World. Epic Universe is open. Now, this is a weird thing to say as a reason to visit Disney World. It's Universal's new park. But Epic Universe opening is also a great thing for Disney World fans. First of all, Epic Universe is definitely worth visiting for any theme park fan. I have a whole detailed breakdown of my experience with Epic filtered through the eyes of a Disney fan. And there's a lot to love there. Great rides, great theming. If you have older kids and like thrill rides, it's well worth adding an Epic day to your Disney World vacation. But Epic Universe is actually making Disney World better for guests. It's the beautiful thing about competition. Disney has brought back some great guest perks, like airport luggage transfer. But for now, that's limited to Southwest Airlines, Disney Value Resorts, and only on your departing flight. Not quite Magical Express, but it's a start. Also, both water parks are open at the same time this summer, which hasn't been the case since 2019. And if you're staying at a Disney resort, you get free water park admission on your check-in day. And if you're doing a split stay, that also works on both check-in days. But the most immediate thing that almost every guest can take advantage of are the deals. There are a lot of great deals this summer. The best one for families are the half-off kids tickets for 3+ days. That's available through September 20th, 2025. Even if you just have one kid, that is a significant savings. And if you have multiple kids, that could save you hundreds of dollars. Annual pass holders can get 40% off of select restaurants on Monday through Thursday, through the end of July. I'll put the details up on screen. There are also a ton of resort room deals. I did a price comparison for staying a week in July at Disney World versus Universal, and Disney's value resorts were significantly cheaper. And that wasn't even factoring in the special deals for annual pass holders or Disney Plus subscribers. There's also a really great Florida resident ticket deal that's 4 days for just $60 a day. With these deals, I think Disney is trying to capture some of that Epic Universe excitement. Like, from Disney's perspective, they're thinking, yes, you're interested in going to this new theme park down the road, but while you're in Orlando, you can save a lot if you spend most of your week here. I think it's smart business. Who knows how successful it will be, but ultimately the important thing is that going to Disney World this summer is more affordable than it has been in recent memory. Now, there's also an online sentiment that it's a great time to go to Disney World because everyone's at Epic Universe, so Disney World is empty. However, it's hard to predict exactly how much of that will happen. But what's easier to predict are summer crowds based on recent crowd data trends. And that brings me to the fourth big reason that Disney World will be awesome this summer: low crowds. Summer used to be the busy time at Disney World, but that hasn't been true for years now. Summer is now a time of low to moderate crowds. But don't take my word for it, let's look at the crowd data via thrillddata.com. Over the last 3 years, June and July are fairly moderate months. June 2022 had a spike in crowds, ranking the 4th most crowded month that year, probably due to the opening of Guardians of the Galaxy at the end of May. But outside of that, those months rank anywhere from 6th to 8th most crowded of the year. And weekly data shows a similar story, with most weeks ranking just below the middle of the year. But so far, this June, crowds have been soft, with last week having the lowest wait times of the year. And 4th of July the previous few years has generated headlines for the low wait times. I do think that there will be a bump at the end of July with Test Track and Starlight opening. Plus, end of July and very beginning of August usually sees a little uptick in crowds, with people squeezing in a Disney trip before the end of summer break. But once school starts, August and September have been the 2 least crowded months over the past few years. And Labor Day week is typically the least crowded week of the year. So summer crowds aren't really a thing anymore, and this year looks like that trend is continuing. Why is that? Well, it's time to put a stop to this summer block party because someone called the cops. Actually, it's because here's the reason why you might not want to visit Disney World this summer. It's stupid hot. There's been a significant shift in guest patterns over the past few years. December through March are the busy season now, while late May through September and even October have become much less crowded. And I think it just has to do with the weather. The combination of heat and humidity in Orlando is oppressive. When I visited at the end of May, there was a major heat wave. It was in the 90s, but it felt like it was 107 degrees. That's why all of my big summer recommendations are either inside an air-conditioned building or after the sun sets. Now, I still think it's worth going to Disney this summer because of the low crowds, the deals, and the new offerings. But you're going to need to be prepared for the heat. So I have some quick recommendations for 5 ways to beat the heat, and I'm going to include links to all my recommended items below. 1. Bring a refillable water bottle, and refill them with free ice water that can be found at counter service restaurants. They'll usually have a station of water cups at one end of the ordering counter at quick service locations, but the best places to refill your water bottles are the self-serve soda machines found at certain dining locations, like Connections Eatery at EPCOT or Backlot Express in Hollywood Studios. Staying hydrated is so important, and you don't want to spend $4 a bottle for Dasani. Speaking of hydration, 2. Bring electrolyte packs. When you sweat a lot, like in the Orlando heat and humidity, you need to replenish your electrolytes. Trust me, this makes a huge difference. Now you could get a Powerade, but you'll save a ton of money just by adding electrolytes to your refillable water bottle. So get dissolvable electrolyte powder pouches. I really love Ultima Replenishers. It has a good flavor, 0 calories, and 0 sugar. It's kind of like turning your water into a Gatorade Zero. Liquid IV is also good, just get the 0 sugar version. 3. Get a neck fan. I've also used a cooling towel before, which works well, but I got a USB rechargeable neck fan for my last trip and I loved it. Just having that bit of cool air moving made everything feel much more comfortable. Plus you'll look like you'll fit in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, where it's hot Lobot summer. 4. Get a UV umbrella. My mom's been using one of these for years, and I'm ashamed to admit I kinda made fun of her for it. But joke's on me, because these things are everywhere now. Turns out my mom is not only smart, she's a trendsetter. Certain areas of the parks don't have a lot of shade. I'm looking at you, Toy Story Land. And all of Epic Universe. So bring your shade wherever you go. Finally, 5. Create a weather-friendly plan. Plan to do most of your rides in the morning and the evening. Lines are lowest then anyway, and it's easier to run around the parks while it's cooler. Then in the late morning and afternoon, hit up the shows, do one of those air-conditioned dance parties with the kids, get a long lunch at a table service restaurant, or go back to your hotel for a nap or dip in the pool. Maybe do one less day at the parks and one more day at a water park or your resort. When it is this hot, you will do yourself a favor if you pace yourself. Are you visiting Disney World this summer and have any questions? Let me know in the comments below. This has been James from Guide to WDW. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you real soon.